What's up, everybody? I'm live. I've gone live. And I'm not in the garage right now, so I was just thinking if anybody has questions, any question about cars, I'll try my best to answer it. So that's what the theme is for today. Is questions. If you've got questions, I'm happy to answer your questions. Reposition this chair. Any questions? If you got questions, I'm happy to help. I'll answer your questions, or whether that be car questions or even just entrepreneurship, because I consider myself an entrepreneur. And I have my own business. I went through and I did the work to get an LLC and everything else. And it's starting it out is really tough, especially if it's something that you just started, kind of like how I did. I've been working on cars for 15 years, more than 15 years actually, because I started, the very first car I had was when I was 14, and that was in 2009. And that's a whole story. That's actually a really cool story. So to anybody who wants to know how I got my first car, just let me know. I'd be happy to tell the story. But if not, I'm just here to answer your questions about cars or entrepreneurship, starting your own business, everything like that. I want to be able to help the community. So put it down here in the comments. Let me know what you want to hear. Let's see. We don't have any comments yet. Yo, what's up, Drift? Out of those two, I would choose the Ram, but F-150 is more reliable out of those two. It's been a good day. Yeah. How's your day been? I'm here to answer questions about cars or entrepreneurship. Starting your own business. I've had a business before this one. And then I've also just started a business. So the beginning of last year I started a business. So I'm going 1 year strong on that business now. That's my current business. So yeah. Hello everybody. Hello. Thank you for joining. I'm not gonna lie, right now business is slow. That's the thing about entrepreneurship. When you're working for yourself, there's good days, there's bad days, and then sometimes you have good months and bad months. And I understand. Man, I'm kind of old school. I would probably say the Mercy logo. Yeah, because my favorite video game growing up was Midnight Club 3, and that's one of the cars that you win in that game. When you finish the Detroit, so there's 3 maps. When you finish Detroit, there's a last tournament, and you win the Mercy logo. And it's lime green, so yeah. But I'm not much of a fan of Lamborghini, to be honest. I don't really like exotic cars. You know what? That's funny that you say that, Drift, because, you're 14. Um, the funniest thing is I've been mowing lawns for people ever since I was younger than 10 years old. And I still do it. My grandpa, he has his own company, um, mowing lawns and doing aerations and other landscaping stuff. So I've been doing that ever since I was a kid, and I've been going strong every single year working for him and then also working for myself. And then since 2019, I built him a website. I learned HTML and CSS on my own. I literally just watched YouTube videos, um, Khan Academy, and I learned how to code on my own. I worked. Yes, I've had a lot of jobs. Yeah, I would recommend getting a website. You don't have to pay for a website other than the domain name. That's what I did. I learned how to code, HTML, CSS. I use a program called Brackets, and I literally made my own website. And then I was able to pick whatever name I want for the domain name. And I use a company called Namecheap to buy the domain. It was like $11 a year. So basically $11 a year, that's all you're paying for a website. That's what I did. I learned how to do coding. I built my grandpa's website in 2019. In 2022, I started my own company for myself. And that was my first business. It was home inspections. Uh, you know, I've had good months, I've had bad months. I don't know. I've made over 100,000 in a year before. Um, there were a few months where I was making 10,000 plus a month, and that was just from mowing lawns. You know, mowing lawns. The big money maker was aerating. So if you get your hands on an aerator, especially in spring, that is a huge money maker. We got a aerator, we got a power rake. Um, when we first got the power rake, we were quoting people really low. I would say honestly, if you get a power rake, you need to do at least $150 uh, per like a quarter acre yard, because we had a package. It was aeration and power rake for $90. Crazy, $90 per yard. So so many people were messaging us and wanting to get their power raking done. And man, it took 2 hours to do a quarter acre yard. So I finally told my grandpa, I was like, look, in the amount of time that we can do one power raking job, we could do 10 aerations. So I told him, we're gonna start charging $150 for power rake, because I don't want to do power raking anymore, just because of the fact that it's not profitable. No, it's not raking the leaves. So basically, when the grass is like, especially ones that have yellow spots on green grass, what's happening is there's a layer of thatch covering the dirt underneath the green grass. So you could take an actual rake and start raking it up, but a power rake does it automatically, and it basically takes off that thin layer of thatch. So what you have to do is you have to power rake the whole yard, which is essentially the same as mowing it with a push mower, but harder because you have to really push hard, because it's not an automatic, like, propelled machine. And then when you're done, you have to rake everything up. You have to rake up all that dead grass, and it just takes forever. It was usually about 2 hours per job. Yeah, if I were you, I would really invest, especially at 14. Listen, if there was any advice I could give anybody, if you're in that age range, 14 to 18, anywhere in that range, get started young. Get started young. I wish I would have, because right now I'm a mobile mechanic. That's the business I started. I wish so bad I would have started being a mobile mechanic at 18, right out of high school. So that's the number one advice I could give anybody who's young, is get started young. Because the biggest thing I've learned is working for other people, like getting a 9 to 5 job. That is probably the worst thing you could do. And that's facts, because when you're getting paid hourly, unless you're making like $60 an hour, it's not worth it. Your time is far more valuable. Okay? So find something you love and start young. And if you're already over that age, if you're in your 20s or 30s, you're kind of in the same boat as me. And the biggest thing I could recommend is to educate yourself. So, sales, door to door sales, that is a very good profession to start. Um, Not because it makes you good money. Sure, there are some door to door salesmen that make really good money, but I would advise everybody to learn sales. And the reason why is because you learn so much if you take it serious. If you're one of the guys that's just kind of, going with the flow, you're not going to learn much. But I'll tell you my story. A couple years back, so in 2024, I was selling pest control for a company. And I'm located in Utah, okay? But for this company I was working for, we got relocated to Kansas City, Missouri. So that was the first thing, is I got taken away from my hometown, and everything was new. The environment I was in was new. The people were different. The environment was different. I literally went from mountains everywhere and calm climate to immediately, like the first week we were in Missouri, there was a tornado right outside our house. So basically, all the habits, all the ways of your life um, change. You start learning new things. You start seeing a new perspective, and man, like it was the best time of my life so far, at least, because I was just involved in sales. I was getting paid commission based pay only, and I was just going door to door, like every single day, knocking on doors, having that door slammed in my face over and over and over again. And it was Kansas City, Missouri. So if any of you guys are from Kansas City, you'll know the border of Kansas is right there. It's like literally Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas. So one day we'd be in Kansas, the next day would be in Missouri. And We ended up going down to Topeka, Kansas. It was like an hour and 45 to 2 hour drive every day. And yeah, I didn't give up. There was a lot of quitters. There were so many people. We were there for 4 months, and there were so many people that quit throughout the entire time. There were some people that showed up later than everybody else, and they would end up quitting. Um, by the end of it, by the end of the 4 months, out of like 20 guys, there was probably only 5 or 6 people left, and I was one of them. Anyways, I had guns pulled on me. We had police called on us. We had police escort us out. Everything just because we were knocking on doors. There was one time where we got so sick and tired of the police. We had a police officer. It was in a very small town called, I can't remember what it was called, but it was in Missouri. I wish I had the picture, but they said, you need a solicitor's permit or you're out of here. So we went down to that police station, and we paid the money. Just me and my cousin paid the money to get the solicitor's permit. No one else on our team got a solicitor's permit. So everybody else got kicked out of that area, but me and my cousin were able to stay in there. So that was cool. It was a really cool experience, and I would recommend everybody who is wanting to get into entrepreneurship, learn sales, do something hard. That's the biggest thing is the decisions you make right now, the hard decisions you make right now, are going to make your life easier in the long run. So do something hard. Hard life now, easy life later. Versus easy life now, hard life later. And I would say working a 9 to 5 is coasting. The reason why is if you read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I would highly recommend everybody read that book, they talk about the rat race, and they just talk about how the majority of everybody is in the rat race. And that's basically where you're making just enough money to still be broke every single month. You have money coming in and you have bills taking money out. And so that's what the rat race is. It's a circle. So I would say I'm still in the rat race just because I haven't started making enough money to get out of the rat race yet with my business. But that's just the number one thing, the number one quote. I can't remember who the quote is from, but it's, you will never be rich working for someone else. So that's what I would recommend is just for training, do door-to-door sales. There's a lot of different door-to-door companies. Pest control is probably the worst one because of how common it is. Because when we were going door to door, our biggest objection was they already have a different pest control company. So that's probably the hardest one just because of how overly saturated the market is. So I would say go door to door, do something like home security or solar. People like their gadgets, people like technology. So that's a good one. But pest control isn't bad. I did pest control because in my mind I thought, yeah, I was like, you know what? Everybody has bugs. But yes, door to door, in my opinion, it's good for learning. Sure, there's some people that make a lot of money on door to door, but it was just for the learning experience. It taught me how to put myself out there and how to learn sales. So everybody should learn sales. Then the next thing is educate yourself. So I've read various audio, like, I didn't read the books, but various audiobooks, various books. Here, I got a couple of these books right here. Millionaire Next Door. This is a really good book. And then you've got your classic Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So educate yourself. Read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, Millionaire Next Door. So Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. That was my favorite book. Yes. Okay. Liam, to answer your question, I have a lot of pets. Right now, we have 7 cats, a tortoise, and 3 dogs. So we got a pit bull, a Rottweiler, and a golden retriever. Here, right now. Come here. Champion, come. Come here, boy. Look at this doggy. This is the puppy. This is the puppy right here. This is Champion. This is technically my brother's dog, so he's only here temporarily. Yes, I got a lot of pets. Okay? I would say the dogs are mine. Like, I love dogs. So we have a pit bull, Rottweiler, and this little golden retriever right here. He's an English golden retriever. That's the ones that are like the more blonde. He's English golden retriever. And technically he's my brother's dog, but we're hanging on to him temporarily. I don't know how long we're gonna have him, but he lives here right now. Anyways, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. That was a really good audiobook. Basically, I can't remember the name of all the authors. If you want, you can comment below and I'll tell you all the books, okay? All the books I'd recommend. One of them was called The Secret. There's a lot. But basically, and it's going to sound a little bit kooky, but what you put your mind towards will create your outcome, okay? Like, I think it was a quote by Benjamin Franklin that said, if you want to predict your future, make it happen. Yeah, comment on my latest video. Comment that and I'll give you a message or whatever. I'll give you all my book recommendations, okay? But basically, I would listen to audiobooks every single day, okay? I listened to The Richest Man in Babylon, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the David Goggins book. I can't remember what it's called. But David Goggins, great guy. He's probably the closest thing to superhuman that we have right now. Like, I'm not even kidding. If you listen to David Goggins' book, that man is crazy, okay? So that's basically it. You need to discipline yourself, discipline your mind, figure it out. And I'll be honest, like, just to kind of prove what it's like, before I left to go to Missouri to work door to door, I weighed about 230 pounds. And then when I got out to Missouri after being there for 4 months, when I got home, I dropped just because of how disciplined I was. I was walking 15 to 30,000 steps a day, working out every day, dieting. I was on the keto diet while I was out there. I dropped all the way down to 187 pounds. And now that I'm back, it's been about, a year to 2 years. I can't remember. It was 2024, August of 2024, that I got back at 187. But now I'm back up to like 230. Okay. But I just barely started this business. I started it the beginning of 2025. It was going very slow. So I got a day-to-day 9 to 5 job, and I kind of let that business kind of marinate in the back. I got a few reviews, restructured my business, and then now 2026, I told myself, look, I'm not going to let this second business fail. We're going to get this going this year, 2026. We're going to blow up, okay? So, a few things I've been doing. Marketing is the hardest thing about any business. Now, you've been doing your lawn mowing drift, so I'm sure you've probably had to figure it out. There's asking your neighbors. There's going door to door in neighborhoods saying, can I mow your lawn? At 14 years old, it's easy. I'll be honest. At 14 years old, it's a lot easier than when you're 30, like me. Because when you knock on the door and they answer, you see a little 14-year-old kid, their guard is a lot lower. But when you knock on that door and you're 30, you got a beard like me, and they're going to be like, hey, who's this grown-ass man knocking on my door? My guard is up here. I don't want to talk to this guy. So yeah, marketing is hard. That's where the door-to-door comes in. Learning door-to-door is basically teaching you how to talk to people, how to overcome those objections, because, it was easy to just give up and go to the next door once someone says no. But learning how to overcome objections, when they're like, no, we're good, we don't need anything. And then you say, great. Who are you currently using right now? Or do you do it yourself? Or, what do you do to remedy your problem right now? So that's the key, is overcoming objections. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to figure out your marketing strategies. It is always better. I would rather go door to door than to not try it all. Like every single day, I would tell myself, I'm unemployed unless I employ myself. So if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, if you're trying to start your own business, no matter what it is, you need to go out there, you need to hustle, and you need to make it happen. Okay? And that's the hardest thing about this life, this entrepreneurship, is it's a constant uphill battle. It's not for everybody, but you will be greatly rewarded if you're able to get through it. Okay? So right now, that's where I'm at. Right now, I'm making social media posts every day. I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel. That's the reason why I'm going live. The reason why I'm going live is because I'm trying to get more subscribers so that I have a bigger reach to everybody. I upload on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Those are my four go-tos. I don't really mess around with X or Twitter, mainly because in my area, people don't use Twitter that much. And I mean, I'm using TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So that's why I'm going live. I'm going to go live on TikTok. I'm going to go live on Instagram. See, you got 200 followers. That's pretty good. I think right now, here's the thing. I've been on YouTube probably before you were alive, to be honest. I think I started YouTube in 2009. Like, that's when I started when I first made my account. And I used to make videos back then. They were just stupid, silly videos. Like, I had one called Home Cooking, where it was like I was teaching how to make a bowl of cereal. Stupid, right? And then I had one called Narnia, where there's a big open field in my backyard, and that was Narnia. Just stupid videos, just stupid teenager videos that I was doing back then. And I wish I would have continued doing videos, because that was 2009, and a lot of people, a lot of big YouTubers started around that time, like Mr. Beast and all those people. So if I would have just continued making videos, who knows where I would be now. But I got embarrassed. Like, when I got into high school, I would look at those videos and I'd be like, man, like, my classmates are gonna look at these videos and make fun of me. So I went into my YouTube and I deleted all my videos, thinking that I was gonna get made fun of. You know, I had so many videos too, and I deleted all of them. And I wish I would have kept those videos. I hate that I deleted them, because I didn't have them saved on there. But either way, after all these years, yeah, I should not have done that. After all these years, though, now I only have 70 subscribers. You know, I had, so what, like 14 years, 13 years I've been on YouTube. I only have 70 subscribers. But yeah, that's what happened. So I told myself 2026 is the year I'm going to blow up, because I've been a mechanic for 15 plus years now, ever since I was 14. And so I started my business this year. I'm a mobile mechanic, and now I'm doing car content. So yeah, this is good. I'm going live now. I'm trying to help anybody about their questions about cars, or if you have questions about entrepreneurship. You know, I've learned a lot. Yep, cars are pretty cool. Yep. What kind of Liam, what's your favorite cars? What's your go-to? Do you have a car? If so, what kind of car do you have? Waiting for the answer right here. I'll tell you guys my cars. I'm a GM guy. Yes, I sub to you too, Crystal, from Johnny Tips. He's a really good guy, you know. Okay, cool. I have 83 subs right now. That's awesome. That's 13 more than I was aware of, to be honest. Thanks, Drift. I have a 2016 Impala right now, a 2015 Cadillac ATS Coupe, and a 1994 Chevy Caprice with the 350, the 5.7 liter V8. So I'm a GM guy. I've always been a GM person. You can tell by, I got a Chevy tattoo right here, and I got a Cadillac tattoo right here. So, my first car. If you guys want to hear the story about my first car, I'll tell you it right now, okay? So I was 14 years old, and I was hanging out with some friends. So what happened is we were walking around the block, and you know those little motorized scooters that old people or handicapped people ride on? I found one of those. It was just sitting in someone's front yard, and it had a sign that said free. I was like, oh, cool. You know, it's free. Like, I'm going to take it home. So I pushed it. I literally had to push this thing home. It wasn't charging. I didn't know what I was doing. I figured it out. I replaced the cord because the cord looked all messed up, and I just spliced some wires together and put electrical tape on it, and it worked. Like, I literally plugged it in and it started charging. And I would ride that thing around the block. I'd ride that thing to school. I was in junior high at the time. It was so fun. It was like the funnest little thing. It wasn't very fast. Like, if you were running, you would pass it up, but it was pretty cool. And, you know, I was kind of an idiot at the time, but I pinned flames on it, and I loosened some of the bolts underneath the seat. So whenever I would accelerate, the seat would rock back, and I would joke around and say, yeah, this is the hydraulics. I put hydraulics on it. Well, anyways, after about a couple weeks, I was like, you know what? Like, this is stupid, you know? I don't need this. There's probably somebody out there that could really use it. I'm going to try to make a profit on it, okay? So let's just say Craigslist, okay? It's a community website in my area, in my hometown, called KSL, but it's just like Craigslist. I posted it on there for $200. And keep in mind, this is 2009, okay? Yep, I was trying to flip it. I got it for free, and I was trying to sell it. So I can't remember how many people called about it, but one day I got a call, and this dude was like, hey, would you be willing to trade for a car? And I was like, immediately, I was like, yes, I would absolutely take a car. And I asked him, I said, what kind of car is it? And he told me it's a 1980 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. I had no idea what that was. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what kind of car it was. But I said yes. I said, I will trade you. Yes, I'll take it. And so while I was on the phone with him, we scheduled a time. And like literally a week later, he brought that car. And I had Googled it. I Googled what kind of car it was. And it's like your typical old school lowrider kind of a car. You know, it's a two-door Cadillac. And man, like, it was in rough shape, and it didn't have power steering. Couldn't really drive it because I was only 14. But I was happy to have that car. Yep, that's a cool car, AMG Coupe. But anyways, so I got my very first car at 14 years old, and a car I got on my own. Keep in mind that it wasn't something that my parents bought me. And so that's what I was proud of. I was proud that I was able to get my own car. And so it was a 1980 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. And if you want to see pictures of it, you go to my website, Deeskey.com. Easy. Deeskey.com. So if you look at my username, just Deeskey, spelled the same way, .com. go into my blog, and one of those blogs is this story. You could see pictures. I have multiple pictures of that car. It was a cool car. I bought it. I flipped it for a 1987 Chevy Camaro. That's what ended up happening. Camaro didn't have an engine, didn't run or drive. At 14 years old, I taught myself how to install the engine. I got it to crank and never started, but I had it for 4 years. I turned 18. Actually, no, I had it for 5 years because I was 19 at the time. I got a girl pregnant and I sold it. So I got to get going. I got to go pee really bad. So I will see you guys tomorrow. I'll do another stream tomorrow. But you guys have a good one, and thank you for watching my live. And we'll see you next time.